How's it going, guys? It's Mr. Lone Wolf, and today I was going to try and test out all the different cranes, because they've added a mod for stronger cranes, and yeah, I've been saying for a while it'd be nice if they were buffed a bit, so I went and got kind of identical trucks, one of each, kind of like the small Russian crane, the small American, the big Russian, the big American. Yeah, one version is like the normal crane, one version of the stronger crane, and yeah, these are basically the results. So I'm going to start with the Voron Grad, which this is the small Russian crane. Any truck that I've got painted red has got the stronger crane on, so this is like the standard one that we've always had in the game. And as you can see, yeah, not, well, again, this is the stock thing, not amazing results, so you have to retract the crane all the way in to even lift the loaf off the floor. But you could see, as soon as I started to lift it off the floor, the cranes like auto-extend themselves, and then as the length increases, it just drops the scout or whatever it is you're lifting back down to the ground. So when it comes to like trying to load them onto the sideboard beds or whatever, it's, yeah, if you can get it off the ground is one thing, but then you've got to try and kind of lunge it over to the sideboard bed before it just automatically plummets to the floor. So this one is the stronger Russian crane, so this is now officially like a mod, and yeah, not a whole lot better. To be honest, I was hoping to do, but this is why I tested the cranes first. This is like the 4th or 5th time I've had all these trucks out and had various cranes on for crane tests and all sort. I've tried to do a video before on crane tests, but yeah, as I go through this, I'll sort of explain why. It's always been a bit of an awkward sod. Yeah, so as for that small Russian crane, I'd say it did a tiny bit better. I was able to have the crane slightly beyond fully retracted, and I was still able just about to lift the loaf, but it's still a bit iffy. So next up, we've got the long Russian crane, and again, this is like the standard version that you get in game. Had no issues lifting the loaf. The big cranes never really have before, as far as, well, I mainly lift loafs, to be honest. Always take a goddamn professional with me. But, yeah, it's never really had any issues doing that. Brought a, what's it called, the Fleet Star out, though. That's got a crane on it, it's just a standard crane. I didn't really bring this out for the crane itself. I just wanted to bring a small vehicle, like the loaf, a scout, a medium-sized truck like that. I brought the twin steer out as well, and then the Kolob, which I believe is the heaviest truck in the game. So, yeah, initially I was hoping to have a bit more of a challenging test, but to be fair, the mod I think has upped the strength a little bit, not as much as I was hoping, but beyond that there is other things, like for example, more length. That's what she said. Everyone enjoys a bit more length. Yeah, you can extend the crane further, which is good. You'll also see when I extended the crane legs that stick out the side, you can kind of see where there's like a little invisible gap where it's missing now, but essentially they extend further sideways, so they give you more of a planted, yeah, you're sort of more planted and anchored on the ground, less likely to tip over. Again, this is the stronger version now, so yeah, I was able to extend it further. No chance of lifting the Fleet Star at full length, or even when I was retracted. I was struggling a bit. This is where it gets a bit hit and miss with this game. This is why I've never really done a crane comparison video before, because at first it was struggling to lift it even when I was fully retracted. But if you do a bit of jigging around, sometimes you can just like break the point where it won't let it lift and it'll start to go, and then once you do, again, with a bit of jiggling and a bit of luck, it kinda, you eventually get it up there. Again, that's definitely what she said. See, apologies, a tiny little glitch there, but it was just after a bit of wiggling around, it eventually started to lift, although as I extended the crane, you can see it just automatically pulls me down. It's even hinging me over the crane legs. Yeah, you can see the little gaps in, like, as if it's overextended out of its own frame. I line these two up against the wall though, just to show you, like, the extended length is pretty decent, because especially the fact if you crane to the side of a truck, it can tip fairly easily, even if you have got the legs stuck out. Yeah, with trucks like Bruce, when you extend out over the front, you've obviously lost like half of your crane length just reaching from the back of your truck over the front. So the fact that this has now got, you know, a good Bruce length in front of it, that's an official measurement. Yeah, and again, I mean, it'd lift a scout from that length, which is pretty cool. The thing I was kind of hoping for was that they'd be able to lift medium-sized trucks at least. Yeah, to get them onto trailers and twin steer, hence why I had those two there. So this is the American small crane, just standard, and again you can see if I fully retract it in, I was able to lift the loaf. But I wasn't even doing that on purpose then. The crane started to extend itself. And yeah, once it pushes out far enough, it can't handle the weight and it drops down. And again, that's doing it itself again. I'm trying to retract it back in the whole time. Because as you start to lift it in the air, it naturally tries to extend a bit anyway. And then, yeah, once it starts, it kind of, the game just takes over and does it by itself. Again, I'm not extending there. It tried to do it. Well, it basically did drop it back down to the floor. Which, yeah, I find, like, a little bit unrealistic. I'd say it's slightly on the weak side anyway. By the way, both these cranes seem to extend to about the same length. Yeah, one's like the small American stock, one's the supposedly stronger version. And again, there might be a little bit in it. It might also extend the legs out a tiny bit wider. You can see on this truck, the P12s, it definitely extends those legs out wider because you get that invisible gap again. Yeah, overall, I'd say the bigger cranes have felt more of a benefit from this mod. I mean, you can see that's both cranes fully extended. This one's got, yeah, better reach to it, better length. Probably got like just about another P12 length worse. You can see with this stock P12, it's like, it's eaten up probably over half of its crane length just by reaching over the front of itself. It was able to lift the loaf there with no issues, but again, yeah, this is like the American big crane, and that's always been pretty decent. And I usually have it on the P12 because the P12s are because it's a pretty big truck, it just works quite well with the big cranes. So does Bruce. Bruce is easily one of the best crane trucks in the game, but that's got the Russian crane on it. And as somebody said to me a little while ago, they reckon the American crane is a little bit stronger. And yeah, I do agree. There's not much in it, but I think there is a tiny bit, or since the last time I tested it. And yeah, this is what I found. I can't remember if this is the 4th or 5th time now that I've got a bunch of trucks out, equipped various different cranes. Some other crane tests I've done in the past were to do with like changing it from the stock winch to the improved winch. And the problem was I never got consistent results. So, for example, ages ago I tried on Smithville Dam, and I was trying to lift a Transtar, and sometimes I was able to lift it with a stock winch, but not always. And then I thought, oh, the high-powered winch would do better, and then I wasn't able to lift the Transtar. And then I went back to the stock winches, and then they weren't able to lift the Transtar. And again, that was plenty of like jiggling around, wiggling, trying all the different things I could. And then I went back to the, I think like the medium winches, and then they lifted it, and it was like, every time I went back just to recheck that it wasn't just a lucky result, it ended up being something different, and it was just like, I can't make a consistent video out of it. The only information I could really provide is these are really inconsistent. So yeah, and I couldn't really come up with anything conclusive, like pick the high power winch over the stock one and all sorts. Like I said, the stock one was beating the high power one sometimes, but they were making a difference. I don't really find they do as much anymore, unlike the 3rd crane test I did probably a couple of months ago. I tended to find that the high power winch was like as good as it'd get if it was going to do anything, but overall I think cranes have been a bit weaker recently. So yeah, this is the stronger P12 one, and it was struggling to lift it until I retracted it a lot of the way, and then once I got it off the floor, you could see it was almost bending the legs of my crane. They are a little bit flexible when they're this far out, but once I got the Fleet Star off the floor, the weight all kind of relaxed, and I went back to even on my crane legs. And then yeah, I was able to get the Fleet Star all the way up in the air, but then once I tried to reach out sideways a bit, it dropped. So in the end, I sent this wrecker in because it's one of the mods that they've added, but it's actually got like its own purpose-built wrecker crane on the back. And as you can see, I assume they've designed this one like from the ground up just as its own thing. It's not a copy and paste of like the other cranes, and this thing works brilliantly. This was more what I was hoping this stronger crane mod would do, and that has no issues as far as lifting that Fleet Star in the air. That's had no trouble whatsoever, whether I'm lifting it with the arm or just retracting the winch cable in. So next up we'll try the twins there. And obviously none of the trucks have really got like a perfect winch point that keeps them balanced, so I'm just trying to grab roughly a middle winch point and see how it goes. Stick the legs out for this one because I'm trying to winch from the, or crane from the side. But you can see though, that's way better basically. It was like immediately started to lift it, even though there's enough weight there that it's making me flip around, almost tip, but not quite. And yeah, the weight of the twin steer is just like flinging back down to the bottom. I was getting it off the floor a little bit though. It is officially like strong enough to get the twin steer in the air. You just trying to get the angle to where the twin steer isn't long enough just to like tiptoe back on the floor. It was a bit awkward. So eventually I went for the this is like the heaviest truck in the game, I believe, still, the flat face Club, and it lifted that off the floor. It's also kind of hinging the I can't remember what the name of the trailer is, the big high saddle wide trailer they've added like a month or two ago. So I detached the trailer though, lifted the Club. Club's pretty nice and balanced on its winch point, to be fair. And yeah, again, you can see no issues, even with the crane legs out, not wheeling or anything like that. It's nice that it's got those rear crane legs that stick out, because that really does, yeah, that stops you from wheeling. I started to sort of go sideways a bit, and yeah, it got a little bit shaky, but again, just a vast improvement on what the normal cranes are. And yeah, overall, I do find them a little bit weak in this game compared to even to real life stuff. I mean, if anything, I'd say it's a game, so they should just make it. I mean, it doesn't have to be, you know, completely broken levels of OP or anything. The small cranes only being able to lift scouts, I'm pretty cool with that, but I think they should lift scouts more comfortably. By, obviously, there's a few scrapyards near me. You see a few trucks, well, not trucks really, more like vans, like a tranny van or something. Imagine something the size of like the Boron Grad with a little high-ab crane on the back and a sideboard bed. They pick scrap cars up and stick them in the back of the high-ab bed, and yeah, that's picking, you know, 1.5, 2 ton cars up and sticking them on the back with no real issues. They're probably not fully extending, but they're certainly got a little bit of a leeway on the crane. As well, I used to do landscape gardening. We get, you know, pallets of bricks, sand, all sorts delivered. Quite often you get a lorry pull-up, probably a little bit bigger, probably like the size of a Bruce, with a sideboard bed on the back, and they'd drop like 2 ton bags of sand off in one go, extending the crane arm pretty far as well. So yeah, I don't even think in real life, I mean, again, I wouldn't expect this size crane to lift, you know, like another Navistar or stuff. I can kind of think, yeah, fair enough with that. But the heavy cranes should easily, I think, be able to lift slightly bigger stuff, at least like a Navistar or a Fleetstar, Voron Grad, that sort of size stuff. Now, to be honest, I was just messing around a little bit. After I got everything onto White Valley, again, I was kind of setting up the test thinking, oh, this should be pretty cool. Fortunately, I was going to go and do a mission. What I wanted to do was kind of pick a mission. I suppose, well, if it didn't happen accidentally, I'd make it happen, but have some kind of crash where I'd have to rescue a vehicle and then send a crane in to rescue it, because I used to like doing that back in the day. And at the start, when the game came out, they're actually like, the crane mechanics weren't that bad. I think they were like just about decent enough, along with the winch mechanics as well. Although while I was just doing this bit, that does remind me, I think possibly, I'm not going to 100% it, but I think the winches might be slightly fixed, in quotes, nearer to where they used to be. Again, I've not fully tested it, but the Loaf was able to pull that Club over then. And yeah, obviously it used to be able to do that. It's a goddamn professional. I've not tried it in between, but what I mean is, I think a few of us noticed, like in the last month or two, the winches just went weaker. There was a lot of times they just gave up and stopped retracting for me, even if I was just trying to flip something over and all sorts. The fact that the Loaf carried on, I did use this wrecker as an anchor point, but it was a stock Loaf as well, so it's got like stock engine and everything. But yeah, it was able to keep the winch tension enough to flip the Club, so they might have sorted that back out. But yeah, I sort of wanted to go and stage a mission and have like a truck rescue, but sadly I don't really think it'd go too well even with the stronger cranes. This one though, and yeah, I've just been doing like various footage of this in the background. I mean, it lifted the Club, it lifted the Navistar. I then went on to what's it called, Black River. I had a Western Star 49X on here. Has no issues lifting that, whether it is the side or now I've just lifted it from the front bumper, and it's got it no problem. Almost not quite wheeling, but there's certainly, it's taken quite a lot of weight off my front axles. So yeah, in total, I mean, that's what I found really. I'm not knocking the mod. I would say they are officially a little bit stronger, and say regardless of the strength of them, I do like the fact that the crane legs sit wider, so you're more planted, and a biggie is you've got more length, which again, I mean, you can't go wrong with a bit more length. Definitely what she said. Yeah, I got this far, tipped. But one thing as well, it was in the footage when I jumped off the cliff as well, one thing I do like about this wrecker, other than the very decent crane on it, is it's very good at flipping back to its wheels. It's very, very rare it ever tries to like drag sideways along the floor, it just likes to tip back, even with the crane arm fully extended as well. That's another thing that, with some vehicles, when you have the crane fully extended like that, it makes it even more difficult to tip back to its wheels. But yeah, this thing's never had any issue, which is pretty cool. So yeah, this will still be probably remain in my main crane truck at the minute. It just works and it does what it's supposed to do a lot better. I've seen as well they've added a couple more mods. There's one that looks like an old Land Rover, yeah, just like the old school Land Rover Defenders or whatever, so I'll be trying that pretty soon. It didn't appear on my mod list until after I'd been getting the footage for all this. Anyway, that's about it for today though. I hope you enjoyed, I hope that helps. Thanks for watching, and I'll be back soon.